trap of conventional thinking. Listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you challenges everything you've been taught about work, money, and success. Most of us were raised with a single suffocating belief. If you want financial security, you must find the right job. You must hustle. You must climb the ladder. You must compete harder than everyone else. And if you're not doing those things, you're lazy, unmotivated, and irresponsible. Society has branded this belief into our consciousness so deeply that we no longer see it as a belief. We see it as truth. But what if it's not the complete truth? What if there's a dimension to provision that we've been missing? Smith Wigglesworth, one of the most powerful prophets and spiritual leaders of the 20th century, discovered something that changed how people experienced provision forever. He understood that the energy you bring to job searching matters profoundly. When you're frantically applying, submitting resumes, hoping someone picks you from a place of fear and desperation, you're operating from a particular mindset. That mindset shapes how you present yourself, what opportunities you notice, and what you're willing to accept. Wigglesworth taught that shifting this internal framework could transform your entire experience of work and provision. Wigglesworth spent decades observing human nature and spiritual truth. He watched people experience breakthroughs, not primarily when they found the perfect job, but when they fundamentally shifted how they saw themselves and their relationship with God. He discovered that many people operate from an assumption of scarcity, constantly worried that there's not enough, that they're not enough, that they won't be chosen. This mindset, while understandable, creates a particular energy that can actually limit the opportunities you notice and attract. The job you're searching for might not even be what God or the universe wants to give you. Jobs are temporary, limited, and controlled by someone else's decision-making. But divine provision, or what we might call aligned opportunity, flows from a different source. It comes through creativity, intuition, unexpected connections, and doors that open in ways you couldn't have predicted. Wigglesworth taught that when you shift from desperation to trust, from scarcity consciousness to abundance consciousness, you become available to provisions and opportunities that job hunting alone will never access. The truth is this: when you're consumed by job searching from a place of fear, your energy becomes scattered and your thinking becomes limited. You operate in survival mode. But when you can anchor yourself in faith, in knowing that you're fundamentally okay, and that provision exists, everything changes. Your presence becomes different. Your questions become different. Your intuition becomes clearer. Opportunities start finding you instead of you chasing them. Today, we're going to explore what Wigglesworth understood that most people miss. We're going to examine the beliefs about work and money that may have kept you stuck. And by the end of this message, you won't just have a different perspective. You'll have a framework to begin shifting your financial reality. Though I want to be honest, real change requires both mindset shifts and practical action, both faith and strategy. But before we go deeper, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, answer this question honestly. What if you didn't have to search for a job from desperation? What if you could approach your financial future from a place of trust instead of fear? What would that change about how you move forward? Share your answer. Let's start a conversation about what becomes possible when we shift our internal foundation. The spiritual foundation. Your invisible inheritance. Most financial advice starts with the same fundamental assumption. Provision is something external that you must chase. It's out there somewhere, separate from you, waiting to be captured if you're good enough, smart enough, or strategic enough. You need the degree. You need the perfect resume. You need to network harder and sell yourself better. This creates a constant sense of chasing, striving, never quite arriving. But Wigglesworth taught something profoundly different. He taught that understanding your inherent worth and your spiritual foundation changes everything. As a child of God, you have an inheritance that's not dependent on your performance, your credentials, or your job title. This doesn't mean you don't need practical skills or that effort doesn't matter. It means that your fundamental value and your access to provision isn't dependent on external validation. This shift in perspective is powerful. When you truly understand that you are an heir, not just a job applicant, not just someone hoping to be chosen, your entire internal experience begins to transform. You're no longer only competing in a limited marketplace. You're not consumed by anxiety about whether someone will pick you. You're not drowning in fear about tomorrow. Your nervous system shifts from survival mode to something more resourced and open. When your nervous system shifts, when your internal state changes, your circumstances often follow because you make different choices and notice different opportunities. Wigglesworth witnessed this transformation repeatedly. He saw people who were broke, unemployed, and struggling. The moment they grasped that they possessed real worth, that they had an inheritance as God's children, something profound shifted in them spiritually. Their energy changed, their sense of possibility changed, and as their internal state shifted, their circumstances began changing too. Sometimes gradually, sometimes rapidly, but always in a real way. The Bible doesn't say go out and find a job and maybe God will bless it if you work hard enough. It says seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. Notice that specific word, added, provided, given. Not earned only through your own striving, not granted only if you prove your worth. This is a completely different framework than what we're typically taught. Wigglesworth taught that there's a law of alignment that operates in the universe. When you align your consciousness with abundance, when you stop operating primarily from fear and scarcity and start operating from faith and sufficiency, things shift. Provision doesn't just trickle in slowly. It flows in. It comes from unexpected directions. It multiplies beyond what you could earn through your own effort alone. This isn't magic. It's about how human consciousness works. When you believe something is possible, you notice opportunities you previously missed. When you're resourced internally, you make better decisions and show up more effectively. Your inheritance has 3 dimensions working together. The spiritual dimension includes peace, purpose, and the deep knowing that you're taken care of fundamentally. This is your foundation. The intellectual dimension includes creativity, ideas, wisdom, divine solutions, and intuition that flow through your mind when you're not purely in survival mode. The material dimension includes the actual resources and opportunities that find you, the favor, the connections, the doors that open. When you're connected to all 3 dimensions, you stop being primarily a job seeker. You become someone operating from wholeness instead of from lack, and that changes everything about what becomes available to you. The power of faith over fear. Rewiring your financial reality. Most people don't realize that fear and faith operate like different frequencies. They're different states of being. Every state you operate from attracts corresponding experiences and opportunities. When you're afraid of not finding a job, when you're anxious about money, when you're worried about tomorrow, you're operating from a particular frequency. The universe, or your subconscious mind, responds by bringing you more evidence for the thing you're afraid of. You're literally drawing toward yourself the very thing you're most afraid of. Wigglesworth understood this deeply, even though he didn't use modern neuroscience language to describe it. He saw that people trapped in fear-based thinking were trapped in fear-based circumstances. Their fear created a lens through which they saw the world, and that lens filtered out possibilities. But people who operated from faith, from trust, from knowing that God had already provided or that provision was possible, those people stepped into opportunities almost effortlessly. They experienced breakthroughs that seemed to come from nowhere because they were operating from a completely different internal state. When you're in job search mode from a place of deep fear, your energy becomes scattered and desperate. You send applications everywhere, hoping someone, anyone, picks you. You perform in interviews, trying to convince someone you're worthy of their attention. You compete with other desperate people, all broadcasting the same frequency of desperation. But here's what happens. Employers sense it. Clients sense it. Your own subconscious senses it. Desperation has a specific vibration that actually repels opportunity rather than attracts it. People operating from desperation make different choices, ask different questions, and present themselves differently than people operating from confidence and resourcefulness. But when you operate from faith, when you know you're already provided for or that provision is available to you, you show up completely differently. You're calm, you're confident, you're creative. You're offering value from a place of strength rather than begging for a chance. That internal state creates a different energy. It attracts opportunity like nothing else can. This isn't mystical. This is practical psychology. When you're resourced internally, you think better, you communicate better, you make better decisions. Wigglesworth taught that your internal dialogue, the words you speak about yourself and your situation, has enormous creative power. What you consistently say about yourself, your situation, and your future literally shapes what you notice and what becomes available to you. Most people's internal dialogue during job searching is catastrophic. They say things like, "I hope someone picks me. It's so competitive out there. I probably won't get this anyway. Money is hard to come by. I'm not qualified enough. Nobody wants to hire me." Every single one of those statements is a command to your nervous system and your subconscious mind. You're literally training yourself to believe the story you're telling. Now, imagine completely shifting that internal dialogue. Imagine saying things like, "Provision flows to me in multiple ways. I am more valuable than I've ever imagined. The right opportunities find me. I am favored and blessed. I am creative and resourceful. I have skills that matter." This isn't magical positive thinking that denies real obstacles. This is retraining your nervous system to notice what's actually possible. This is speaking into existence the reality that you want to create. When you change your internal dialogue, you change what you notice, what you believe is possible, and how you show up in the world. For the next 24 hours, experiment with this. Shift your internal dialogue completely. Stop saying, "I'm looking for a job." Start saying divine provision is finding me. Stop broadcasting fear. Start broadcasting faith. Watch what shifts, not just in your circumstances, but in how people respond to you, in what opportunities suddenly become visible, in how your intuition starts guiding you toward the right direction. This isn't magic. This is neuroscience and spiritual law working together. Frequency attracts matching frequency. Your action plan from desperation to divine provision. The traditional action plan for job searching focuses entirely on external doing. Update your resume. Network more. Apply everywhere. Follow up constantly. Hustle harder. There's nothing wrong with these actions. But Wigglesworth understood that the most powerful thing you can do is combine doing with being. Do the practical things, but do them from a place of wholeness instead of desperation. Do them from a place of faith instead of fear. Do them from a place of knowing your worth instead of trying to prove it. Divine provision flows through 4 foundational pillars working together. The first pillar is spiritual alignment. Begin each day anchored in faith, not fear. Before you check your email or submit applications, spend time connecting with God through prayer, meditation, reading scripture, and gratitude. This isn't wasted time. This is the most important time because it sets your internal frequency for everything that follows. When you're spiritually centered, your decisions are better. Your timing is better. Your intuition is sharper. You don't just act. You act from guidance. The second pillar is vision clarity. Visualize yourself already living in abundance, not someday in a distant future, but right now in your consciousness. See yourself with peace in your heart, with purpose in your direction, with resources flowing toward you, with freedom to make choices based on values rather than desperation. Hold that vision with clarity and emotion, because what you see in your inner world eventually manifests in your outer world. This works because your inner vision shapes what you notice, what you believe is possible, and how you move forward. The third pillar is grateful action. This is the paradox that transforms everything. Don't take action to earn provision. Take action in gratitude for provision that's already yours. When you apply for opportunities, do it from gratitude for the chance to contribute. When you network, do it to share value and make genuine connections. When you develop skills, do it as an offering of what you have, rather than trying to prove you're enough. Your action comes from abundance consciousness, not from scarcity and desperation. The fourth pillar is boundary setting. Know your worth. Don't take every opportunity just because you're desperate for income. If something doesn't align with your values and integrity, if it feels wrong in your gut, don't do it just for money. This seems backwards, but the moment you set this boundary, you demonstrate real faith in provision. You're saying, I trust that God or the universe will provide in alignment with my values. That's when truly aligned opportunities start appearing. That's when you stop taking jobs that drain you and start moving toward work that feeds your soul. Over 30 days, establish your spiritual practice. Begin with just 15 minutes of prayer, meditation, or gratitude daily. Shift your frequency from desperation to faith by monitoring your internal dialogue and gently redirecting it. Embody your vision by acting as if you're already the person you want to become. Serve others generously without expectation of return. Document how your circumstances begin changing, how your energy shifts, how your opportunities evolve. The transformation is real. It happens when you stop broadcasting lack and start broadcasting abundance, and it accelerates when you combine internal shifts with external action. Here is what Smith Wigglesworth would tell you today, if he were standing in front of you right now. You have been chasing a job when you could have been chasing a relationship with the source of all provision. You have been begging doors to open when doors are already open in the spiritual realm, waiting for you to walk through them. But also, and I want to be clear about this, doors open when we combine faith with action, when we combine trust with strategy, when we combine spiritual alignment with practical skill building and effort. The truth is both radical and simple. God is not stingy. God is not limited. God does not require you to compete, hustle endlessly, or prove your worth in ways that destroy you. You are already worthy. You are already provided for. But you still need to show up. You still need to develop your gifts. You still need to take action. Your job is to align your internal state, your beliefs, and your actions with provision, rather than with desperation. You are not defined by your job title or measured by your salary. You are not limited by the economy or constrained by job postings. You are a person with inherent value, with gifts to offer, with an inheritance of possibility. You are favored when you align with faith. You are blessed when you operate from wholeness. You are enough right now as you are. The promise is this: when you shift from desperation to faith, from doing to prove, to doing from abundance, from fear to alignment, provision flows in from directions you never expected. It comes through your own creativity and effort, yes, but also through unexpected favor, surprising connections, and doors opening in ways you couldn't have orchestrated. It multiplies beyond what you could earn through striving alone. It comes not as a single job, but as a portfolio of provision, diverse sources of income and opportunity and blessing. The challenge is this: can you trust God or the universe more than your fear? Can you believe in your inherent worth more than you believe in your resume? Can you operate from wholeness instead of desperation? Can you combine faith with practical action instead of choosing one or the other? If you can. If you're willing to stop looking for a job primarily from fear and start looking for alignment with abundance, your entire financial reality shifts. Not magically, not instantly, but genuinely and measurably over time as your choices change and your energy shifts and your opportunities evolve. Stop looking for a job from desperation. Start looking for alignment. Start looking for God's guidance. Start looking for the provision that's already yours and the opportunities waiting for you. Because they're waiting. They have always been waiting for you. And they're waiting for you to show up as someone who believes they deserve them, who operates from wholeness, who combines faith with action, and who knows that provision is not something you have to beg for. It's something you're meant to receive, create, and share. That's the real message. That's the real transformation. That's what happens when you finally stop chasing and start trusting while still showing up and doing the work. That's when everything changes.